How's it going, Raiders? My name is Ryan, and this is episode 32 of TRC. On today's podcast, we want to know, what side do you choose? Also on today's podcast, we'll be talking about leveling zone orders, leveling tips and tricks, what factions we're all going to be playing, just in general, what this launch means, considering it's going to be the first ever global launch of a expansion. So, with that being said, tanks, everyone's ready. Pull timer on you.
The heroes have made it to the glorious finale.
Alright, here we go, guys. Set up your chairs, focus up, let's do this. Alright, guys, get buffed up.
Okay, so we want to soak the annihilations,
Get your shit together.
then we want to target the annihilator,
Put the big girl panties on.
move back to avoid damage from eradication,
I think I've disconnected.
then we target the decimator,
Can we pull already?
then we target boss.
I hope you can swim in molten lava.
Let's kill this dragon.
Welcome back, Raiders. As I've already stated, my name is Ryan, and this is the Raiders Confessional podcast, where we talk all things in-game PvE-wise in the world of Azeroth. Joining me, as always, from the land of Denmark and the land of Canada, are Martin Larson and Oreo. How's it going, guys?
All right.
It's going pretty good.
Yeah, you guys excited for tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern time here in the U.S., which, what is that, Marty, like 1 a.m. for you?
What's happening tomorrow again? Sorry.
We're just gonna get online and, I don't know, just sit there, not really do much.
Okay. Yeah, I heard that the PvE stuff in Hearthstone is out tomorrow. That's right. Right?
Yeah, you go ahead and do that. That's one less person I gotta worry about.
He's on the EU servers anyway, so we're good.
Don't worry about me. No, I'm excited, man. It's that point of the year, every other year.
Yeah.
New expansion is out. It's always exciting.
Yeah. Well, I hope for all of you listening and or watching, both live and later down the road, understand that as of tomorrow, 8/13, we will be having the new expansion for World of Warcraft dropped. I think it is technically 8/14 for you guys, Marty, correct? When it launches?
It's midnight.
Midnight for you guys?
Yeah.
Wasn't it 1 o'clock for you? Because you're 7 hours ahead of us? No, that's right, because it's Eastern time.
Yeah. So it's midnight for me. If you're if you're in the UK, then it's 11. They get it earlier than everybody else. Oh wait, it's the same time, isn't it? No, it doesn't. They get it at 11. We get it at midnight.
Did you take the following day off so you could stay up all night and raid?
I got the whole
Raid
week
play.
off, dude. Come on. I'm professional WoW player over here.
I'm professional, but make goose egg for money.
Yeah, well, I do it for the fun of it.
So, I know I'm certainly ready. I am tired of. I did my very last world quest in Emissary today on the Monk, in hopes that maybe I get one more legendary, but no
Well,
luck.
there's also tomorrow, isn't there?
I'm
Another
not.
day.
I'm not going back.
Over it.
Yep.
Yeah, I got my fishing mount, so I'm ready as well.
Oh, the water strider.
No,
Is-
no, not the water strider. The markers on Dalaran fishing thing, because I was bored yesterday.
Oh, is it the jellyfish thing or?
No, it's a shark fish, so sort of like it's just a underwater mount. It's not really that fancy or anything.
I have the jellyfish from all the orbs and all that stuff, but I guess we could dust off our seahorses from whatever expansion that was. What was that?
Oh, Kata.
Yeah, even though it only works in that one zone, and it's eating up my space in my mount thing.
This is
Yeah.
why you roll druid, and you can be a whale.
It's true.
Mhm.
Is it a whale?
Shaman.
Don't you have to glyph
Just go
that?
shaman, and then you can just run underwater. You don't have to swim, do anything.
Or Death Knights with their water walking, or was it Frozen Path or whatever it's called?
Yep.
So wanted to spend some time. Obviously, as the title says, today's episode is what side do you choose. Oreo and I, as most of you probably already know, have decided to switch factions for BFA. and arguably well on into the future. I know personally I will still keep some Alliance alts at max level to check out content and whatever. But
So you guys vote for doing more genocide and stuff. That's what you guys are into.
hey, you know what?
Whatever works.
Whatever our war chief decides, man. That tree was getting pretty ugly anyway. So
That is true. That is. I will give you that. It felt like it's something from the past.
brine deep butter. Oh, okay. Cake and Knight are back in Twitch chat, so we're gonna go ahead and route on past that. But
Yeah, that's the name of the mount, Brian D. Bottom Feeder.
But yeah, so Ori and I are gonna be playing Horde. Marty, I'm assuming you're gonna be sticking with Alliance.
Yeah, I'm all blue.
Well, your shirt is blue too on stream right now. So Oreo too. Oreo's trying to throw some deception out there.
Yeah.
Either that or he hasn't told me, but he's just been playing a really bad joke with us, and he's actually going to be playing Alliance.
Yeah, double agent here, guys.
But, so Marty, I got to ask, now that have you done both sides of all the story up to this point?
Yeah, I have. I have dusted off my very first character that I ever made in World of Warcraft, and he's level 110 and has played through all the content.
So with the theme of this expansion is, obviously Horde versus Alliance, as we fight over Azeroth. Now that we've thrown in the destruction of two major cities, arguably, both at the hand of one individual and her underlings. Does this really, in any sort of way, reinvigorate the faction pride for you going into this expansion, or is it just kind of like whatever?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sort of bifactional. I like I've played both sides throughout the years. I mean, I rating wise, I'm Alliance. All my friends are Alliance. So I'm mainly an Alliance player, but I do keep up to date with what's happening on the Horde side as well. And then, to be honest, I love the story. That's why I'm in it. To be honest, so I'm really looking forward to Battle for Azeroth, because apparently we have two different stories being told. We have an Alliance one and a Horde one, and that just means more story, and I love story, so I see myself as a winner.
Okay, well, Marty apparently is a winner. As for the rest of the world, I guess you're all losers, according to Marty. But what about you, Oreo? Is there any sort of like faction pride, or is this story just kind of an additional aesthetic that's kind of cool and doesn't really alter how you feel about the game or your play style or anything? Or what are your thoughts here?
I think that they're doing a really good job with storytelling this go around. A lot of people were worried it was going to be the whole Warlords of Draenor, and everybody's super hyped up about, all these old war chief, old fighting style thing going on. And then that was a real letdown because we didn't even get to see half the stuff they had planned. But this time with the storytelling, I think they've pissed people off, which I think is is I think it's refreshing. If you are upset, then you are invested. I think that's more than you can ask for people, right? If you're like, it's like your favorite TV show. If something happens, you don't agree with it, you go, oh no, right? And that's what a lot of people had with this whole burning of the tree thing. Everybody was like, oh, well, now we're gonna have to go kill her.
Yeah, and I mean, even I've experienced it a little bit as well, because last week we did a podcast where we talked about the lore and the story, and I also went on Twitter afterwards. And doing the show, we had some people disagreeing with what I said on the show, and even on Twitter, people were really disagreeing with me, and it's just interesting to see that people care so much. And I guess that's have to tip your hat for Blizzard. To Blizzard for being able to actually bring that out in people.
Yeah, and I mean, as kind of like a side note, it's very funny to see people people that write articles about the games and stuff like that. As soon as that Sylvanas Warbringer came out, there was so many articles being like, has Blizzard lost their edge? Do they know what the heck they're doing anymore? And then a few days later, they released the whole Old Soldier with Sarfang, which I have to say is probably one of my top 3 favorite cinematics that they've ever done.
Absolutely.
It's almost like Blizzard planned it that way. It's weird.
Yeah, they knew that they were going to get upset. And then you just watch all those people that were writing articles. Do they know what they're doing anymore? To being like, this is the greatest thing they've ever done.
Yeah. The only thing that I'm really like upset about is that a lot of it seems so horde focused. What's up with that? We need more alliance.
And
Well,
I think that that's just kind of part of the story that they want to tell right now is the Alliance has always been pretty status quo. They think that they are like the justice of the world and stuff like that, whereas you have the Horde, which is the survivors, right?
Mm.
So I feel that they're bringing that into play. That you have these people that they're the survivors versus the people who think they are like the justice incarnate. You have like the Light Forged Draenei and stuff like that on your side. So because I feel that with the whole Legion thing that focused a lot more on the Alliance side of things, you had like Turalian and all these people who are big
I don't
big
remember that.
Alliance side.
That's
So
not how I remember it.
no, you don't remember that part. Turalian, Ilaria, Void Elves, Lightforged people.
Yeah.
So I think that they've told a lot of story to get where we are right now, and now they're just telling the other part to get it kind of to where they need it to be.
well, the big question I have is, I think everybody was left with the idea that we were going to get the 3 weeks preceding up to the launch was, week 1 was the Jaina Proudmoore, week 2 was Sylvanas, and week 3 was supposed to be the Ajara one. And we have yet to get that. So my question is, when do we get it?
And my thought is also, how are they going to top anything that they've done so far with that last one? So
with the exception of maybe a few moments in the 13, 14 years, however long this game has been running, every single time, like I said, other than a few exceptions, we've asked that question, Marty, they've surprised us almost every time. So I am optimistic that it will be well done. What I am curious about is, I've said it before in other podcasts, and I don't know if I've said it here, but there is a little bit of me that is apprehensive with the in-game content moving forward, that we could potentially be in another Warlords of Draenor situation, not from spending a year in the last tier of rating, but rather is some of the story from an in-game perspective going to be a little bit cheesy and just kind of feel lackluster. It's going to be really hard coming off the shoes of Legion, because we arguably just killed our biggest threat that we've been dealing with since day 1 of the game. So they've got some big shoes to fill in that. If they come short of that, anything short of that is going to feel bad comparatively. So I think they have to be careful to do a really good job, in my opinion.
Exactly, and also because I think if you go back to Warcraft 1, where it started, and up to Legion, that's basically where it ended, right? That whole storyline that started in Warcraft 1 has been concluded now. I mean, sure, there's still like a few strings still left from that story side. Like, for instance, Sylvanas was created because of Arthas, who was created because of the Legion. So, I mean, there is still a few players out there. There's also Queen of Shower and things like that. But, I mean, the overall story is done now. So what's coming next is the setup for the next sort of chapter in World of Warcraft's history, right?
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what that is. There's part of me that is very, like I said, apprehensive that they may fall short of the mark of what they should do, and hopefully they don't. And while I am apprehensive in some capacity, I am, the majority of me is optimistic that they're going to do a good job.
I mean, so far, if what we've seen so far is like them showing what's to come, then I think we're in for a hell of a ride. I just hope that they didn't spend all the big bang and stuff right now,
right?
and then when we actually get into the story, then it's
So here's the other question. The title of this is Battle for Azeroth, and obviously, as you can see from the thumbnail and this, the cover of Battle for Azeroth, the game, is an orc on one side and alliance member on the other. And the whole theme is Horde versus Alliance, again, bringing that back into the game. You know, we kind of steered away from it when we had to combine our efforts to deal with the Legion, Sargeras, Kil'jaeden, you know, everything. But at what point, if any, do we steer away from that and have to or come to the realization that our petty problems between one another are just that? They're petty, and there's bigger problems than us and our, you know, stupid ways, and you know, we need to maintain this unified focus of keeping Azeroth healthy and alive and dealing with our more galactic / universal problems versus, you know, who's gonna own what city and etc.
It's a really good question that I don't really know where they're going to take us, because my thoughts the other day was also like, what do we actually raid? Because we're not raiding Horde, the other factions and stuff like that. So how do they chain that story together? So it still feels like it's Horde versus Alliance and stuff like that. So, and I don't know, you guys will probably delve more into the beta than I have. So I haven't gone very far. I have no clue what's to come. So I'm still looking forward to see where the story's actually taking us.
Well, we've seen it in the past where we've had raids that were not necessarily us raiding the other faction, but there have been subtle differences within that raid for each faction. You know, and there were issues with that because it arguably changed the amount of resistance or struggle or time it takes to complete a raid, and that was problematic from the Mythic race standpoint, because certain factions had an advantage. You know, we could argue all the way back to Sethune in vanilla, you know, and the poison cleansing totems. You know, Alliance had a really hard time with the last boss because of they didn't have poison cleansing totems, whereas the Horde, they didn't have to worry about single target dispels because they could just throw down their totems and it would take care of the problem. But we had, you know, while yes, we had these differences, we did have the problem that, like I said, it made one faction have an easier time, especially when you're playing at that high of a level. Even the smallest of differences can be a huge advantage. And so I'd be curious to see if we ever explored that style of play again, where different factions had different paths through a raid or whatever, which kind of leaves the conundrum is, if our raids are not going to be directly us raiding the other faction, we do, you know, I would suspect, or I would at least like to see some sort of difference between the factions to maintain that theme of, you know, while we may not necessarily be directly fighting one another, we may be racing each other to get to the end, to get this prize, to give us an advantage over the other faction, whatever. So I didn't know if either of you had thoughts on this particular line of thinking.
I guess I'll go first. I think that we've seen it a few times along the line. I think the very first time we ever had a difference between the two was, if I remember correctly, in Icecrown. Icecrown Citadel was where they had that first, like, if you're Alliance, you'll encounter this story. If you're Horde, you'll encounter this story. I think the second time we saw anything similar to that was again in Siege of Orgrimmar at the end of Mist, where I think it came down to what trash you had to kill based on what faction you were. If you were Alliance, you didn't have to worry about the big room full of guns and stuff like that. But if you were Horde, you didn't have to worry about all the bugs in that other hallway, because Sarfang would go through and just wreck them. But I think that you'll see that, or I hope that you'll see that. I really haven't played too much into the end game Mythic dungeons, but I think that with the Siege of Borealis, I think it's King's Rest is the Horde version of it, that you'll see the difference in that dungeon at least. But as far as like where it's gonna go from there, I think that they're going to release that Ashara Warbringer about that time that you realize exactly where this expansion's gonna be headed. I think that'll be when we'll see it.
You think we'll have to wait that long?
Maybe. Who knows? It could be out tomorrow, or it could be out a month from now. Who knows?
I'm fine if we wait, or if we have to wait rather, under one situation. If they constantly give us little breadcrumbs of content all along the way. If they reach a point where we're just in a very long period of a drought of content or story, that's where I start to have issue. Like I would rather wait a longer period of time and have them create content the right way. That way, when we get in there, it's not A, super buggy, B, lacking in content, C, just mechanically piss poor designed. I would rather them take a little bit longer extra time to do all that right. But at the same time, give us a little bit of something, every so often to keep us occupied, to keep us liking what we're
And
doing.
you saw that a lot in Legion with, I think, like at the very beginning, you were dealing with Suramar and that storyline leading up to the Nighthold raid. Then after that, they did a quick change, and now it was Tomb, and you had to deal with the Broken Isle, and you had that for things to do. And then to end it all out, you had Argus, and you had
And
those three different places. So
yeah, and they also threw in, was it in the very first patch with Karasan, Return to Karasan or whatever. So yeah, they had a lot of content for us each patch.
Yeah.
I hope that we see something similar to that at least.
Mm.
Because from what I've seen on beta at least, it seems very much that as soon as you are done your leveling experience, your new story is to just go to the other faction's island and do your story there.
Mm.
So
The next question I wanted to answer is, I think Blizzard has incorporated a part of this story that provides a vast amount of potential to create content off of, especially with the Horde vs Alliance theme, and that is this Azerite, this fight for Azerite. With Mythic Pluses coming off of their huge success in Legion, obviously Blizzard would be dumb to not continue that moving forward, which they are. They are absolutely continuing with that moving forward. They are really improving upon the affixes. They've done some little changes, like you're no longer able to swap gear while in there, which I personally, while yes, at the immediate face value, it's a huge inconvenience, seems dumb, but when you look at the bigger picture, I think it's a really good thing. But I think little things like us having to fight for Azerite, like let's say this vein pops open somewhere or whatever, like, there's potential for them later on the road to create another dungeon where we're going after whatever it may be, whether it's directly Azerite or some weapons of war that were designed with Azerite in mind, whatever the case may be. You guys think we're going to see a lot of focus on that part of the content with the smaller settings, or I guess even within the raid, but from an in-game PvE standpoint, do you think we're going to see some focus there?
I would hope so, because I love 5-man content. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like raiding as well, but I just love 5-man content. Some things to do outside of raiding. It doesn't require too much effort to get a group together, and it's just, I don't know. I always, that's why I've always been doing a lot of. I've always been doing dungeons. So I would hope that they focus on that side, and that we'll get some dungeons along the way as well, like we did this time around.
I think that we'll see. I hope something similar to. I know people will probably freak out. Something similar to Ashran with this whole faction conflict thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, where something pops up, and now it's like the race to the finish kind of thing. That whoever takes it wins, kind of. I think that would tie in pretty well with at least the theme that they've shown so far.
Which we've already seen a little bit of that with what is that PvP, or you're fighting for the veins that pop up randomly.
Oh, Seething Shore.
Yeah. We've already seen a little bit of that, and I, like you, would hope to see them even further expand upon that, whether it be from a PvP standpoint or a PvE standpoint. Either way, we're still going to get some sort of focus from a story perspective or a lore perspective there, and I would love to see them continue to expand upon that throughout this expansion. But other than that, do either of you think that we're going to get any sort of big wrenches from a story perspective? That were just huge surprise. I mean, obviously everybody thinks we're going to get Old God to some point, right? Like that's the big speculation. You think maybe halfway, 3/4 way through the expansion, all of a sudden they're going to throw us completely for a loop?
Who knows? I mean, I think the Old God connection is pretty clear. since we have Ashara
Mm-hmm.
on the playing field. She's one of the old guard's pawns, so that's pretty sure. We've seen some old guard sets from way back, which was probably leaked by not by mistake, but because Blizzard wanted to get the hype train going. So I'm pretty sure that the old guard thing is a done deal. That's something that's going to happen. But if we get something else, I would love to see a big surprise. I would love to see if they can keep the train going, as which they have set up right now. What would happen at Telter Cell and Lordaeron and things like that. I would hope we'll see way more of that kind of stuff that will surprise us, and that they'll take the try out new things, maybe take the story in a direction that we didn't really see coming.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna draw a parallel to Mists with the fact that throughout Mists, it was very faction war based at the beginning, but then you lead at the end. It was very old god Shaw at the end, with how the encounters were, how things were corrupted, and all that stuff. Maybe we'll see something similar to that, but I don't think that that's really a Blizzard thing for them to rehash something like that.
I don't know. We had warlords.
So that is true.
Which hopefully they learn from that mistake.
Yeah, exactly. But
When you
I
throw
don't know.
that one in the closet and leave it there.
Yeah. Warlord who?
Right.
I
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just to say that I don't think that they'll use the similar story, because that's a lot of people, when they first saw that Warbringer Sylvanas, they're like, oh, here we go, Garrosh 2.0, Siege Orgrimmar 2.0, like, we've already got this expansion figured out, that's how it's gonna end, kind of thing. And then for them, they'd already been convinced of that. There was no convincing people otherwise.
No.
But I don't think they'll reuse the exact same storyline.
No, I think Blizzard is doing that on purpose as well. That they're making these parallels, because if you really look into all the cinematics and stuff, there's so many parallels to like in the throne room during the Lordaeron cinematic. There's so many parallels to Arthur's and Warcraft 3, and I mean that everything that they've done. There's so many parallels to the old days, but I think that they're also trying to say this is not the old days, and we have something else in store for you. You might think that this has something to do, this might look like stuff that we've seen already, but I don't think it is. I think they'll surprise us.
Well, I hope you're right.
If I'm not, then I never said this, right? There's no proof.
Yeah, no, it's not like it's being recorded or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And you've already said you're a winner, Marty, so you can't afford to lose on this one.
Exactly. I won.
So, I also wanted to spend some time, we obviously hashed out a little bit of our speculations from a content perspective. Well, obviously, we talked about what sides and faction we're going to choose. The other thing I want to talk about today is, obviously all three of us are in a Mythic rating group. What is going to be your leveling strategy? Are you going to go super hardcore? Don't even bother reading quest text. Use an auto acceptor, auto turn in add-on. Use every potion, pot, consumable under the sun to eke out every small, like 0.5% of time you can. What are going to be your leveling strategies here? And I guess Oreo, from all three of us, I've seen more strategy in terms of what I'm going to do and what path I'm going to take from you. So I guess I'll let you start first. What is your strategy for leveling in BFA here?
Yeah, I mean, you've probably seen myself and Ben talking a lot about which way we're gonna go with things. Oh, bye-bye, Marty. We lost him.
Yes, we did.
There he is. But as far as the route that we're gonna take, there's been a lot of speculation and a lot of maybe you call it theory crafting of what is. Hey, there he is.
Real quick, for those of you in chat, Discord seems to be having some issues. I'm getting some weird sounds coming through my headphones as well. So for those of you listening, I apologize on the live version or the video version. But if it continues to be really bad, I'll do what I can to clean it up for those of you listening to the audio version. Just letting you know now.
I don't know. This code is acting really weird tonight as well. I mean, it keeps going from like good connection to bad connection and down to red, up to green, down to red. I don't know. I think something is going on at the moment.
They're probably DOSing you.
Probably.
Maybe.
They didn't like your winner comment.
Crash them.
Yep. Go ahead, Oreo.
But yeah, to go through, and there's been some theory crafting, and there's been some guys that come out and kind of not so much told you how to do it, but more the guidelines of this is what it looks best to do, just based on, at the beginning of your leveling, you're going to have the gear, you're going to have the legendaries, you're going to have all this power behind you to get you through those first 4 to 5 levels. And then after that, what zones do you not need that gear push in? And I mean, for Horde, it was always start in Vol'dun, go to Naz, or not Naz, or go to Vol'dun, go to Zuldazar, and then end up in Nazmir Swamp, just based on how the gear requirement is. And, class-wise, you're going to want a ranged DPS. That's what you're going to... A ranged DPS that has a dot or something to tag a lot of things with is probably the best. So I kind of hum and hawed about maybe going feral, but that really doesn't seem like the most reasonable thing, especially when you have a boomkin that you can literally have that extra range and you can hit multiple targets with Moonfire now, the way it's talented, or you have the legendaries and all that stuff. It just doesn't make sense to go any other way. And I mean, as far as min-maxing is concerned, before Darkmoon Fair went away, I went and rode the carousel to get that hour-long 10% buff. So I am securely parked right at the beginning of the expansion, ready to go, and that is, yeah, that is my min-maxing right there.
If you hadn't brought it up, I would actually have asked you about that if you went to go get that buff.
Yep.
So my question, Oreo, for those listening live, is that can people still get on and go do that before launch, or is it?
Nope. Sorry, suckers.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Sorry.
So here's the other thing I always find funny. A lot of these guilds, if you're a server race guild or you're a mythic race guild where it's absolutely planned that every single one of your members is rush as fast as possible to the end, everybody's gonna be on the same page, that's one thing. But if not, like within our guild, we obviously just set some standards that people have to hit before we start raiding, which is 3 weeks time. They have 3 weeks to gear up. It's not a huge thing to ask. Some of you guys are going to hit 120 on the first night. Some of you guys are going to hit 120 on the second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, so on and so forth. A lot of you guys hitting 120, whether it be in our guild, another guild, whatever, anybody around the world, you're going to hit 120 and then have nothing to do because there's no one else to play with. Obviously there's going to be little things you can do individually, like World Quest, or opening those up, going to do World Quest, whatever. But you may even from an LFG standpoint, you may have a hard time finding groups for a day or two. And that to me has just always been the ironic point. But each to their own. And it definitely for those of us, it'll be in the second wave of people hitting 120, not that first night. Probably the second night or early in the third day. We're going to love life because the rest of you guys are going to be 120 and we're going to be able to hit the ground running. But I know, Oreo, you're probably going to be 120, if not the first night, early in the second day.
Well, I'm not taking time off work to do this, so I might have to wait till the second or third day before I start doing those mythics and whatnot.
So you and I are in the same boat then.
Yep.
What about you, Marty? I know you already said, you've taken a week off of work for this. Are you going to rush through everything? Are you going to take your time?
Well, he's a winner, so yeah.
I'm just logging in and I'm 120. That's how
All
it
right.
works.
All right.
Yeah.
Clap for Marty.
No, I'm taking my time. I'm going to read all the quest text and just enjoy the story all the way. That being said, I usually do level fairly quick, even though I do read everything. So I would say I will probably hit max level latest Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah. It's out about Tuesday midnight for me.
Right.
So yeah, Wednesday sounds about right.
I'm laughing. I'm reading Twitch chat from our own guildies, and they're saying, "Oh, we'll have a group of 5." You won't. There's probably 3, maybe 4 people in our guild that are gonna hit 120 that first night. I'm talking about that very first night or early the second day. You're gonna even LFG won't have enough people because you'll have maybe 10 to 15 people server wide. You know what I mean? And with each hour, you'll have increasingly more people. I'm not talking like by the 5th day of leveling, you still won't have people to play with. I'm talking with just matter of hours. You know. You can list off all the people you want, Twitch chat. We all know that with server issues, disconnect issues, I won't believe it until I see it.
Well,
So,
now we have an argument going on there because
I'm looking forward for next week's podcast when we're going to talk about what happened. And
I think I just scared off half the
It's
live
all-
viewers. I'm never coming to your podcast again. You told us we were wrong.
yeah. Well, now we started a disagreement because someone left Silk off one of their lists. So
You know what? I just for all of the internet, go on record. The people in Twitch chat bitching and moaning at me right now are my guild members. And I'm glad to see that they're bitching me, telling me I'm wrong, that they're all going to hit 120 very early and be ready to go. I hope it happens. I love the optimism.
well, but as well, Blizzard's already said that you can't do mythics until the first reset, which is the following morning.
Yeah, 1 weekend,
So,
which is earlier than last time, from what I understand.
Yep.
But now Michael from the Blue Recluse is here telling me I'm wrong. Michael, all I have to say is go back to StarCraft, man. Dead game. But yeah, so what about you, Marty? I know we before Twitch chat rudely interrupted us with their terribly wrong comments. Are you going to be rushing through, taking your time? What's your plan?
No, I'm going to, as I said, read everything. I want to just enjoy the ride as long as it takes. And when I hit 120, if I'm not done in the zones, I'll finish all the zones off and things like that. So I'll do everything story wise, and then we'll see what happens after that. Where we go after that.
What about your
but
guild
yeah.
collectively? Are you guys what are your standards? Have you set any standards forth for your guild members to hit, time frame, any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we have to get geared for when the raid releases and stuff like that, like pretty standard stuff, I think. So yeah, not nothing really large there. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, as for myself, if you guys haven't picked up already, I'm going in work really early tomorrow. I'm gonna get off work so I can be sitting at my computer by the time the launch hits, and I will be playing easily 6, maybe 7 hours, going to bed, rinse, repeat. Hoping to have my character at 120 running in-game content to gear up before I take off. Blizzard, I partially hate Blizzard because I planned a trip before they even released the launch date. Like everybody else thinking the launch date was going to be a couple weeks later than what they told us. And they told me that, launch, starting the Monday of the week, the weekend I leave. So I'm trying to get everything done. That way, once I get back from my weekend trip, I can be right back in there tanking mythics for guildies and helping people get geared out and getting ready to go. So Blizzard, thank you for that one. I appreciate it. But I digress. Nothing I can do about it now, jerks. But yeah, no, so the other question is, so what are you, so you're leveling Oreo, you obviously got the Dark Moon Fair buff. I'm assuming you've got a bunch of flask and food and pots sitting around. Your druid, did you ever get exalted? So you have the rune?
No.
Okay, so
I did not have enough time for that. So
okay, I tried. I came just a little bit short from rep on my monk. I don't think even if I wanted to, I could go. I don't think it's physically possible to grind out the last little bit I need to get that infinite use one. But at this point, with leveling arguably taking anywhere from 8 to 12 hours, depending on how fast you go, I think you could probably buy enough runes off of the auction house to last you through, if you so wish. I personally am going to be using DPS flask and food, and whatever mats I can scrounge up to make a bunch of prolonged powers. I'll go with that and call it a day. But I'm guessing you're going full bore from consumables, Oreo.
The other thing I will let people in on is if you are on the Horde, you're gonna want those gliders. You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna want some Goblin gliders. I think they recommend at least 40 of them.
At least 40, huh?
At least 40.
And keybind it. Cough, hint, hint at one of our people in chat who likes to click things. Keybind it. Because you're gonna need it in the moment. You're not gonna be able to like think about it ahead of time. Half time you're gonna fall off a cliff or whatever, and you're gonna need to press
find
it
it in
quickly.
my bag.
Well, I mean, they are free, so you think that they might have Slowfall ready to go. Maybe.
I need to find it in my spellbook.
Yeah.
But even Slowfall, I'm sure, is probably a. Oh, I can't remember what button I put it on. Let me open my spellbook and click on it. Keybind it. Keybind it. Keybind it.
I was PvPing on my priest the other day, and we were jumping off something, and I was going to levitate. Yeah, it was on Arathi Bassing, and I was going to jump off from lumber mill down to blacksmith, and I cast levitate, and then I fell down, and I was like, "What the fuck happened?" And yeah, I had someone targeted, so I cast it on someone else while I jumped off.
Did it kill you? Because every time I jump off now, it doesn't kill me anymore.
It didn't kill me. And I'm a priest, so I could heal myself up, but it was embarrassing. My girlfriend was standing right next to me, looking at what I was doing at the same time, and I was
It's
not
Marty.
not a proud moment.
You just admitted a moment where you lose on the internet.
Well,
That doesn't sound like a winner. That doesn't sound like a winner
we won
at all.
the battleground. We won the battleground. What can I say?
Personal sacrifice for the win. That's what he's claiming.
Exactly.
So, now what about you, Marty? Are you going to be? You got a bunch of flasks and pots and food saved up? You're not worrying about that so much?
Well, yeah, I do. I have pots and food, and I prepared everything today, so everything's ready to go. I cleaned out my bags. I cleaned my quest log. Everything is good to go. My bags are ready to get messed up, and yeah, good to go.
I gotta say, I like you guys. I got a bunch of consumables sitting around, but going back to the slow fall, levitate, and gliders comment, I love the fact that I'm a panda now and I can jump off heights and not take a bunch of damage. I tend to overestimate the heights at which I can jump from. Really try and push it to the limits. There have been more than a few occasions where I've jumped off something like, I'll be fine. I'll just heal myself at the bottom. No, it was too high. So I definitely will have to remember to transfer over all my gliders from my shaman tonight.
Yeah, and I'm playing shaman now, and in Legion we had gust of wind, and I'm really I mean that keybind is still there in muscle memory.
Same here.
So jumping off things and all of a sudden realize, oh no, that's a thing of the past is not
Well,
fun.
what's funny is you say about that. I don't know why I continue to do this because I know the answer is no, it doesn't work. But I got really good at mastering using Gust of Wind at the very last second to avoid fall damage. And I try and do that with Chi Torpedo all the time. And it doesn't work. I still take the damage. It's like, why do I continue to do this? But
well, I guess that's like with the Resto Druid when they had Displacer. Same thing. I would jump and hit Displacer, but now I jump and hit it, and now it's a dash. So I just look really cool as I hit the ground and splat, I guess.
Yeah.
Guys in the chat, I just want to say this guy's your raid leader, just so you know.
Yeah.
On their screen, Marty, you're pointing off into no man's land. See, I'm pointing at you right now.
that dude over somewhere.
So now I know we talked about this off the show. We've mentioned it a few times. You go read guides. It's always suggested, or you talked about it briefly, leveling through certain zones in a certain order. I too am going to follow that order because it makes sense, it's logical, and I think that it will make the leveling experience much easier. Even though I'm a tank and I'm going to tag everything and drag it over to all you knuckleheads that are just in the area. But you want to briefly talk about the order and why the order exists and what the advantage is for the order. I guess more specifically to the Horde. I don't know if you're super familiar with the Alliance side of it.
I have no idea about the Alliance, but that's because we're Horde now.
Yes, we are.
But reading through a lot of the guides and stuff, they said that Vol'dun has the heaviest gear requirement of all three zones. So that's definitely the one that you're going to want to be at your strongest, which is definitely not at the end of leveling, it's at the beginning of leveling. So that's why you want to hit that place first. Um, the second one being Soul Desire being second on that list for gear requirement. I think it also is one of the more time-consuming zones, just because you
Mm-hmm.
have to use your gliders and you have to run around. You have a giant pyramid that you have to climb and go down, um, and then to finish things off, I think you could probably get through Nazmir probably just as quick or quicker than Zoldazar. So I wonder if you'll see people maybe alternate between the two of them, depending on what the zone's capacity for people. Right, if you have 100 people doing one quest, you don't even get the opportunity to tag something before it's been cleaved down by everybody. So I wonder how many people you see get fed up with stuff like that and just go to a different zone.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually, now that we're talking about it, I've pulled up the Wowhead guide and I'm reading, like you were saying, for the Alliance, it's just far, Tiergard. I spelled it wrong, isn't it? Tiergard with an S, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's Tiergard, and then Storm Song, and it reads, obviously the two initial starting zones per this, recommended order for both factions are recommended as such because they are, like you said, the harder zones, um, more grinding, longer, and they will be easier to do while you still contain your legendaries, their effects, your Legion gear, and it's basically saying you're gonna have an easier time getting through that zone with your higher stat values and your Legion gear. And then once you hit 116, obviously, and you lose your legendary effects and your stats really considerably drop, it's going to be much harder. So you might as well be in the easier zones at that point. And so for those of you that want to go on over to Wowhead, I'll link it in the show notes. But the order is for Alliance, Justfar, Tierskard, then Storm Song. And for the Horde, like Oreo said, it's Vol'dun, Zoldazar, and Nazmir. So now, Marty, you've been really avoiding beta as much as possible, even when we did our BFA Battle for Main series. Have you done enough that you kind of have an idea in your mind which path you're going to take, or did you just now decide it once we mentioned the order? What are your thoughts here?
I've tried to stay away in general, period. So all those zones that you just mentioned, I didn't know that they were named that. Sort of. No, I haven't really decided on anything. I think it's probably more going to be like what do I feel like doing tomorrow? But now that you did mention an order, I might actually take that into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm not really, I'm not in a hurry to get to 120, to be honest. I just, as I said, I want to enjoy the content. I want to enjoy the ride. I want to read every little bit of text that's in there and soak up as much story as possible.
So that's my other question. I've never been a big story person until recently, especially from a leveling standpoint. I hate leveling. But I usually go back as an alt and pay a bit more attention later on down the road. But for those people that are considering leveling a little bit slower to, like you said, soak everything in, really get the firsthand experience of the story, do either of you know? I don't personally off the top of my head, but do you personally know if there's a certain order from a story perspective that they recommend?
I think that you can kind of do the story interchangeably.
Okay.
I think that's the point with scaling and you
Yeah.
being able to take the zones as you want, right?
So it's
Yeah.
similar to Legion.
Yeah, because I think with that being the Legion thing, I think they had an issue with that in Warlords, where if you were Alliance, you started in Shadow Moon, then you went there, and they progressed the story in that way. And it caused a lot of bottlenecks. They had a lot of issues with crashing of instance servers and stuff like that. So I think when they did the Legion thing, where they're just like, the story is the story, no matter where you go, it'll be the same story. Each zone has its own thing. It's not like they're carrying
Mm-hmm.
over into different things.
They're independent of
So
one another.
yeah, they're all independent.
But the thing is that yeah, it's true that you could play every zone single-handedly as in what order you felt like, but there also did it felt a little bit like there was like an order to it, sort of anyway. And the reason for that is that the whole scaling, and you can choose the zone that you want to that tech. They got that tech very late in development, but they decided to put it in anyway, and then they changed the storylines up a little bit to fit the zones. They could be standalone things. So I'm really looking forward to BFA, where now they have a lot of experience with it, and they could potentially tell the stories 100% separated from each other. So I'm really looking forward to see how the story is going to flesh out this time around, and yeah, how it's going to work.
Sure. Before I talk what you guys are going to plan on doing first, right at 120, I wanted to go over briefly a few things on this very same Wowhead guide. And like I said, I'll link it in the show notes below. But a few leveling tips, and you guys feel free to jump in and add anything or whatever. But don't vendor your green or better gear. You're going to be able to use what did you call it, Oreo?
The scrapper.
Yeah, you'll be able to use a scrapper to get some raw materials from it that are going to be pertinent down the road. So if you have green, blue, or purple gear in your bags, normally you would vendor. Don't hold on to them. Quest to the end of every zone. Don't just jump forward. Finish your quest. Skip dungeons. I know people have conflicting views on this. From an XP standpoint, while once upon a time it may be more beneficial from an XP standpoint to do some dungeons, I don't think that's the case. I know with Legion, I saved every bit of my dungeon quests that I got while leveling till I hit 109. And then 109, I went through and did them all. And because that boosts in XP you get for doing the dungeon for the first time that day, plus turning in the quest, I was pretty much on almost every tune I leveled to basically go from 109 to 110 just from doing the dungeons and turning in those quests. So it says to skip dungeons. I'll likely do the same if that's the case with BFA. However, there's only 3 zones. So I don't know if I'll do that. Maybe I'll just wait till 120 from that standpoint. Now, this one says enable war mode. Oreo, I know you said you had some conflicting views on that. I'll let you talk on that here in a second. As an addendum to that, on this guide, it says disable it for the war campaign. And they're saying to do what I was doing with Dungeons and Legion to save your war campaign stuff till you hit 119. Because if you go through all 3 steps of it at 119, you can get a huge chunk of XP out of the way and almost makes that last level obsolete from questing. And then lastly, it says stay healthy. So again, guys, we always hear these stories. We always laugh because they're ridiculous coming out of it. Was it years ago we heard some story about some girl in Asia who just continued to level and never got up to eat or use the bathroom and ended up dying. Don't go out of your way to hit 120 super fast. If you're falling asleep at your keyboard, go to sleep for a few hours, whatever. But just stay, the guide says stay healthy, whatever. You want to drink as many Red Bulls as you want, eat terrible, that's fine. It's up to you. Just don't die. Like Team America says, promise me you won't die. But Oreo's
you cannot rest in real life.
Not well.
No, there's no spirit res in real life or battle reses. So, or I did want to give you an opportunity real quickly to talk on the war mode potential of maybe turn it on, maybe don't turn it on. I think you did have some valid points there that could potentially be prudent.
Yeah. So with the way that this expansion is going to work, obviously using the war mode to get that 10% extra experience, I think that if you come out of the gates exactly when they launch it at whatever time, 6 Eastern, midnight in some places, if you were there and you were on and you can go from there and you can benefit from that 10%, that's good. That's great. What I foresee is if you are a little bit late to that party, or if you're coming on at a later time, that you're going to probably end up running into people who are, 112, 114, 116, or so on, that are the opposite faction, and they're probably going to kill you, and they'll probably just camp you, because they probably have nothing better to do than to do that and just grief you. So, do you want 10% extra experience, or do you want to sit there for 5 minutes and wait for the timer to come off after you've been killed 6 times in a row? Like I said, if you can get the benefit out of it and you don't actually have to worry about the other faction being there right off the bat, then by all means go ahead for it. But I could see it being, I think the reason why they actually introduced it is because they know that it's going to be a detriment to have PvP enabled, because somebody's going to come along and you're going to be, oh, instead of having to do this quest, now I have to go kill this monk and then I have to go back to the quest. Well, now you've lost that time. You don't get any experience for going and killing that guy. So
What are you guys going to do? Because I think actually, because we're starting at midnight, so I'm thinking that I will start with war mode on, and then at some point I will be going to bed. And I think when I then start up the day after, then I will probably turn it off because the first people has most likely hit 120 and is ready to gank.
yeah, I think that'll be what I do as well. As soon as I start playing on that release, I will have it war mode on. But then I think as soon as I either, like you said, go to bed, or you have something that you have to go do for even a few hours at a time, you should come back and definitely turn it off, because I think that you're going to run into people who are just there to grief.
I think I'm gonna turn on some music, make a deafen Discord keybind on my Stream Deck so that I can mute Discord when cinematics pop up. And I'm gonna start out with war mode on because I'm a tank. I don't think it's gonna be as problematic for me, but if it does prove problematic, I'll turn it off right away. And I think I'm just gonna stick my nose to the grinder and go at it. Personally, but I'm gonna try with war mode on at first. But if it does prove problematic, I'll take the time to hearth and fix it and then come back in and keep going. So, but yeah, I think that's really up to everybody. But I definitely think Oreo had some points that could prove to be prudent, depending on how things end up going. So to kind of round the show out today, we've talked about what our content speculations are. We've talked about what our leveling expectations are, how we're going to approach leveling. I wanted to talk briefly before we end today's show and wish everybody best of luck through their leveling experiences as we approach the launch tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time for those of us here in the U.S. What are your plans at 120? Now, obviously, we all plan to be in raiding right away as soon as raiding becomes an option. We're in Mythic guilds. You know, we enjoy a little bit of the I don't want to necessarily say the race, but trying to get through things as quickly as possible and get to that absolute in-game content as quickly as possible, because that's where we enjoy to spend our time. What are your plans at 120, and how do you plan to approach getting to where you need to be for raid content when it drops? What about you, Marty?
Good question. I haven't really planned that much ahead. I mean, obviously, I'm going to those some new end game content as well with the Isles, right? The what's it called? The island expeditions, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's a few new things. Going to check it out, see what seems most viable, I guess. And Mythic Plus, we're probably most likely going to hit some Mythic Pluses. And I don't. When do they open straight away, or is that a weekend? Actually, yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't really read into that.
So Mythic 0, which is like your standard Mythic, that will be available on that reset of the release. So basically, if you
Straight away.
are like, yeah, so it'll be right away pretty much as soon as you hit 120, you should be able to go straight into just regular Mythics. But if you're looking for Mythic Plus, you're going to have
It's a
to wait
weekend.
until when raids come out.
Okay. Yeah.
you'll have to wait.
I guess up until that, it will be checking out all the other things that are available at max level and World Quest, obviously. And yeah, I mean, I want to get ready as fast as possible as everybody else. So I'm going to check everything out and see what happens.
And also, I know that people are really excited for War Mode as well, with the what is it, the thing in Arathi.
Mm.
I know that people are very excited about that, but that's also going to be coming out with raids as well. So it seems like everything's lining up. So Mythic Plus season, raid season, and PvP is all going to be starting all at the same time.
Yeah. So I
Which I
guess
think
then it's
makes
basically
sense.
just doing Mythic Plus 0 then, I guess, and get your gear from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, I'm gonna at 120. The first order of business I'm gonna do is do what I can to unlock World Quest as fast as possible. You know, obviously finish the war campaign or continue to work on the war campaign. And then once I have World Quest and stuff unlocked, go in and just do every mythic dungeon I can, and then obviously wait till they reset and do them all over again, rinse, repeat. And then once Mythic Plus drops, obviously do that for my weekly chest, etc., and just get as much gear as I can possibly obtain before then. Which I think gear obtaining is going to be a little bit easier this go around because you don't primary stats for the most part are going to be your absolute best way to go. So item level is way more important than we've seen even with the likes of Legion. And I know there are a few guides out there that tell you, depending on what Azerite powers you want to go after for your class and spec. I think while yes, that may be the best in slot, but outside of maybe being in a mythic race guild, I think the advantageousness of one versus the other is marginal. So even if you don't get the best in slot one, I think if you get one, so as long as you're rocking as high as item level Azerite gear as you can get, I think you'll be okay. Maybe you have different opinions on that, Oreo and Marty. I know, what are your thoughts here?
So, to go along with the gearing, the thing that I see happening is that everybody's been crediting Blizzard with the fact that this is going to be a very alt-friendly expansion, that for the most part you'll be able to level up and get to the same level a lot quicker than we've seen, obviously, with Legion having to do your legendaries and your artifact relics and stuff like that. However, the thing that I see right off the bat, if you are that cutting edge style player, is you're going to have to do all that rep grind. So you're going to have to do, just off the top of my head, I know you need to do Champions of Azeroth to Exalted. That'll get you a chest piece, I believe, and it'll give you 15 levels on your artifact. You have to do either Honor Bound or whatever the Alliance version of that is to unlock your horror campaign completely. I know that you have to get Exalted with all the factions in order to get the is it 355 gear, I believe, from all of those. So I see it being, if you really want to push that edge, that cutting edge style, that it's going to be very, very grindy for a lot of people. And they have implemented some things to help with that, so you can get contracts and whatnot from inscriptionists to help with that grind. But at the end of the day, it's still going to be a grind.
Well, and as it should be, if things took little to no time and were relatively easy, what's the point of having this, have this game be a game that we want to spend copious amounts of time in? Might as well just be a single player offline game, play through it once and be done. So I think if you're looking to play in game in any capacity, whether it be PvE or PvP, there's always going to be a grindy aspect to it, as there should be.
I mean, from a warrior's point of view, you're good to go because you just need your convergence trinket, and that's the best in slot for the rest of your life. So everything's fine there. But jokes aside, I mean, in the beginning, you should just go for item level. Just do everything in you can to get that max level set to reach the limit that's available for you, and then after you have that set, then you can start min-max and then figuring out if I replace this set, then I'll get 1% more DPS or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I'm going to go after every single piece of gear upgrade possibility there is out there, whether it be 0.5% or 15% upgrade, and just take every upgrade I can get, not super worry about getting best slot. And then once I get to a point where I've got the item level and stuff I want, then I'll start worrying about fine-tuning. Now, obviously, along the way, I'm not going to forego my best in slot avenues. But if I get stuff from there, great. If not, no big deal. I'll just keep going and get as much gear as I possibly can. And like I said, I'll worry more about the fine-tuning later down the road. Because like you said, Marty, I think primary stats is going to be of the utmost importance, especially early on in the expansion. But
and besides, we have to wait for all those simulations that Ask Mr. Robot talked about last week. So.
Yeah, whatever your flavor of choice is, whether it's Ask Mr. Robot or other class guides or theory crafters or simulation tools, whatever. I mean, it's a lot of the data isn't really going to be solidified or at hand until we get in there and they start being able to collect data as well. So it's a wait and see game as much as we don't want to hear that.
Yeah, I would also say, at least going into the first little bit, you're talking about, getting that gear level and then focusing on your best in slot. And I know that Wowhead has a guide where, it tells you these are your best traits to go for. And then you can also look up on there as well. So this is where you can find those traits. So I know that Ben and I were messing around a little bit. Apparently there is a very broken stacking of 3 Azerite traits that you could do as a boomkin. They probably fixed it by now. But we were like, okay, how do we get to these as quickly as possible? And I was like, okay, so you get one right off the bat with the quest for the neck piece. You get another one for your first war camping quest, and then you just have to grind one dungeon. And then you could have this broken spec the entire way up. So, I mean, there's a lot of resources, a lot of funny things that come out, and like you said, we won't know what's best until we get there.
Right. Well, we could obviously sit here and bullshit and chit chat all day long, but I mainly wanted to hit a couple of major points going forward. But before we kind of wrap up the show today, were there any other major things that either of you felt like it'd be a good idea to maybe mention, whether it be a tip, piece of advice, an opinion, or whatever? Go ahead, Marty.
Yeah, but this is more like for afterwards, or a little bit long down the line, or it's probably not the first thing you should do, but it's just if you liked playing alts, remember to relog all of them at some point, because then they will start gaining rested XP. So it's probably not a launch thing, but maybe a day 2 thing or something like that.
Now, that brings up a question. Can people, if they wanted to, log out right now on their main in a rested zone and start off with rested XP? Or do they reset everybody at 0?
No.
Okay.
It's all at 0, yeah.
It all starts at 0, so you can only start earning that rested XP once the expansion is actually live. So that's why remember to relog your alts at some point down the line.
Right. What about you, Ari? Anything to add before we get out of here for the day?
Not too much. I think we're just a little over 24 hours till launch. 24 and a half.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I wanted to briefly thank each and every one of you for stopping by today. We actually hit our record for number of viewers during a live show today. So definitely want to say that. Marty, I wanted to throw you, Michael, and Tom a big congratulations. You guys hit episode number 200 today on the Blue Recluse.
Thank you.
So for those of you that may not know,
it was a good show as well.
I was in there for briefly. I was doing some other stuff in kind of at the same time, so I was in there for a little while. What little I did here was fun to listen to. But yeah, congratulations to you guys. And for those of you that don't know, Marty and myself also are on 2 other podcasts, respectively, that do discussions on all of Blizzard's games. The Blue Recluse for Marty, and the Blizzard Umbrella for myself, as well as another project we'll be able to announce here very soon. But definitely big congratulations to those guys.
Maybe we can talk about it next week.
Yeah, it'd be exciting. So, also wanted to let you guys know, per next week for my traveling and also really needing to spend time with the guild and focus on getting everything leveled up, stuff like that. There will be no TRC episode next Sunday. We will follow up with the following Sunday. So next week we can all enjoy our time off, enjoy spending time with our friends in game, whatnot, and real life stuff. So yeah, I would advise all you guys do the same. Go in and enjoy the game. Best of luck to all of you leveling. Hope you hit your goals of leveling as fast as possible or as slow as possible, whatever they may be. But yeah, that's really going to do it for us. But again, thank you to everybody joining the show, whether it be live or later on down the road. And we always, guys, if you disagree with us, you have different opinions, you have things you want to add, let us know. Come by. Throw it in chat during the live stream. Email us, hit us up on Twitter, whatever, later on down the road. Doesn't matter, but we love to hear you guys' feedback. Anything we can do differently or talk about that you guys want to hear, we're more than willing. And I would like to, moving forward in BFA, I know we always advertise, we talk all things in-game. I think moving forward, we are really going to try and focus on bringing Mythic Plus more into the fold of our discussions. I think Mythic Plus has a much bigger place in the PvE realm, coming off the likes of Legion and moving forward. So, but yeah, thank you to everybody. Let us know what you think, and we will talk to you in the next episode. 2 weeks, guys. Sunday, 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll see you then. See you guys. If you guys want to find Marty, you can find him over at the Blizzard podcast he does, where they talk all things Blizzard games, The Blue Recluse. If you want to find him on Twitter, you can find him at Unamathil. For me, guys, if you want to find me and personally, you can find me over on my Twitch and Twitter, which are both at Mega Irish Gaming, or you can find me on my All Things Blizzard podcast, which I do with my good friend Dusty Porter, the Blizzard Umbrella. If you want to find us here on the show, you can find us at our Twitter account, which is at _TRC podcast, or you can find us on our email, theraidersconfessional@gmail.com, no apostrophe on the S. That being said, guys, Dusty, take us out of here, my man. See ya.
Sorry, I died. Was I supposed to stand in the green puddles or the orange ones?
Hey, get together over there, bud.
This show has been hosted by Dragon Powered Studios, and the intro and outro has been brought to you by Thankful Cow Solutions.
Moo.